Enraged, bellows at the boy, then a sharp slap in the face. This deliberate, calculated harshness is part of an extraordinary new treatment for mentally crippled children. At the University of California in Los Angeles, a team of researchers is applying the precept to extreme cases. They've taken on 3 boys and a girl with a special form of schizophrenia called autism.
I'm an autistic teenager who has been forced into attending court-ordered applied behaviour analysis therapy, or ABA. These are the experiences that led me to run into traffic to get away from it. From what I've experienced with behaviour therapy, I feel like the RBT therapists who want to help me actually belittle me, make me feel incapable of doing what I can do, and constantly push me to do tasks as simple as flashcards, analog clock quizzes on an iPad, and easy reading comprehension way below my ability level. They make me take notes in a notebook on how many I got right or wrong. They even collect data on how many times I apologise. I feel like a lab rat in a maze, and the cheese at the end is when I get to go home. I don't know what I'm doing there. I've asked them what were my goals, and they said they always change until I'm 18. This was devastating, because I thought if I played along and tried, I would graduate out of ABA.
I think throughout history, there have been dominant ways of thinking about things or doing things in societies, including in science. And I believe that ABA is a dinosaur. It is based on outdated ideas in science, the more innovative ways of thinking about the brain and cognition and behavior and personhood and identity. These ways of thinking have not yet imbued our thinking at the societal discourse level about autism. And I think that that is a terrible disservice and a damaging state of affairs. So I think we're living through a time of change. We're living through a time of reflection. I think we're living through a time of a deep need for paradigm shift with respect to ABA.
When you get diagnosed as like an adult, the first thing that the person who diagnosed me was like, go and read like stories of other autistic people, and there's no cure or anything you need to do. Obviously, you just need to learn how to live, and to do that, you talk to other autistic people. We don't need non-autistic people to stand as a barrier in these organizations between us, you know, as if we can't talk to each other.
ABA was actually the precursor to what later became gay conversion therapy. And so it all has the same root, this awful, evil man behaviorist, I believe named Ivor Lovaas, who believed that autistic people were not human. And he even blatantly said that. He believed that, you know, we didn't have thoughts or feelings. And that's the evil behaviorism. It's all about, you're just your behaviors. You don't have thoughts, you don't have feelings, you don't have complex motivations for what you do. You don't have intrinsic motivations. You are just a combination of behaviors to be rewarded or punished. And some of Lovaas's punishments were especially brutal and violent, and some really violent ABA approaches are still practiced today, especially at the Judge Rotenberg Center with the constant electrocution, which is incredibly disturbing. Modern ABA practitioners will often claim, oh, well, ABA has changed, but there are multiple problems with that. Like, first of all, you know, their organization still holds the Judge Rotenberg Center in high regard and Lovaas in high regard. And the other problem is, even if you're rewarding someone for behaving a certain way, it causes the same problems. You don't do things due to your own motivation. You need some sort of external source saying, do this, do that, don't do this. And I've heard that with enough ABA abuse, you learn that your body doesn't belong to you, your life doesn't belong to you. You do not act without someone else telling you how to act. And it causes PTSD. It makes kids more vulnerable to sexual predators because they don't learn to assert themselves, and they learn that their bodies don't belong to them. And it's just all completely disturbing. And like gay conversion and trans conversion therapy uses the same philosophy and techniques, just replace autistic behaviors with supposedly gay or transgender behaviors or gender non-conforming behaviors.
I think my main contribution and maybe will be just to connect us to struggles to end trans conversion therapies, which it's a struggle that I was very involved in here in Ontario, which is a province in Canada that I live in, and was involved in the sort of legislative process to have that banned. And I have sort of written about that in connection to ABA. And to my hope that we see a ban on ABA in our lifetime. We're farther behind here in Canada, so I'm saying in our lifetime.
Professionally, where a lot of my work lies is pediatric mental health. And so I do a lot of identity development work, but I've also worked inpatient and in community settings, and really to bring out the importance of being able to do what you want to do in order to figure out who your identity is. Identity foreclosure occurs when somebody else has determined your identity for you. And in any type of conversion therapy, that is the goal, is to turn somebody else into the version they want. And we also know that, so we're talking about this from a pediatric standpoint of identity development, but if you look at the lived experiences of autistic adults who have gone through some type of, whether it was conversion, therapy itself, those of us like myself who grew up queer in a religious environment, people who grew up in very fundamentalist or very strict families, we know what that's like to have those demands placed on us so that we cannot show our authentic self. We know from the literature and from the experience of autistic adults that what ends up happening is a lot of mental unwellness, not because we're autistic, but because of the disconnect and the dysregulation of living in society that doesn't want us. And so one of the things that ABA is notorious for is grooming away those unwanted behaviors. Well, I want them, because behavior is communication. And how are we going to learn ourselves and be self-actualized so that we can self-determine, so that we can self-advocate without this information? So any place that doesn't allow rebellion, I don't like this, it hurts, I don't want to be, I can't be who I am, I can't move the way I want to do. No, thank you.
Okay, accessibility, that's Article 9. People have the right to support. This is important from various different angles. It's important because it's about not changing me, but giving me what I need. So under this accessibility clause, which is a long one, it gives a lot of examples. Like, for example, it mentions Braille there for blind people. It would be if deaf people deaf adults say that when I was a child, I was denied, even though I was deaf from birth, I was denied the right to sign language, and they tried to force me to speak and force me to lip read and everything. And we understand that the difference is, there's a difference when people became deaf later in life, because sometimes they actually do prefer those mechanisms. But for people who are deaf from birth, it's different. So it is unfair to think that you're benevolently helping these children by forcing them to speak. You should be giving them something which allows them access to communication, which is the sign language of the country. Otherwise, you're denying their rights. So that's how accessibility is different from what ABA tries to do. ABA tries to change the person to fit in with society. And I'm not even talking about the harsh ABA that tries to make you pass as normal. I'm talking about ABA which tries to obliterate autistic coping mechanisms for a thing and replace it with a non-autistic coping mechanism. So if you are self-harming, I understand that could be a problem, but there are autistic ways of dealing with it, and ABA is not the thing.
So many things that I want to echo and also support, like the self-determination and, centering the protest. How else do you teach self-advocacy, or how would you claim to teach self-advocacy and then not encourage the protest, not encourage not encourage this is where I'm uncomfortable, right? Because it's not about our kids fitting in, right? It's about us fitting in around them, right? I don't want these like shaved off people trying to fit into my classroom. It's not my classroom.
It basically teaches you that you should live for other people. That is the biggest danger for it, is that you don't matter. And like most of us who found out and later in life that we were autistic, you basically have a crisis of conscience. A crisis of identity, because you're like, wait, who am I? Like, I've been living for everyone else for so long. Like, and then you realize that this is what's happened. And yeah, it's heartbreaking hearing like women in their 60s going, I don't know if I'll actually ever know who I am, and it's because they've been robbed of their agency. So I think it is completely inhumane, no matter how positive it looks from the outside.